There is good in every event. God informs us that He creates every event with goodness in it. This is another secret that makes it easy for believers to place firm trust in God. God states that even events that seem to be unfavorable have a lot of good in them. It may well be that you dislike something in which God has placed a lot of good. Surat An-Nisa 19. It may be that you hate something when it is good for you, and it may be that you love something when it is bad for you. God knows and you do not know. Surat Al-Baqarah 216. Aware of this secret, believers seek goodness and beauty in every event. No seemingly adverse incident, hardship or mischief ails or worries them. They maintain their composure whether the experience is insignificant or a serious ordeal. Sincere Muslims even see goodness and divine purpose in the loss of all their hard-earned possessions. They express gratitude to God for the gift of life. They have faith that God may have protected them from committing an evil act or against too much attachment for possessions. Accordingly, they give their most inner thanks to God because no loss in this world equals the loss in the hereafter. Loss in the hereafter means eternal and intolerable punishment. Those who keep themselves occupied with the remembrance of the hereafter view every event as goodness and beauty leading to the hereafter. Those who overcome such ordeals will recognize their weaknesses before God, and will reconsider how much they are in need of Him. They will turn to God with more humility through prayers, and that remembrance will bring them closer to Him. This is surely an enormous benefit to one's hereafter. These aside, by putting absolute trust in God and showing steadfastness, they will earn God's pleasure and will be rewarded with eternal bliss. Man should seek goodness and beauty not only in ordeals, but also in daily routines. For example, burning the food one has painstakingly prepared may lead that person to take numerous measures which would, by the will of God, prevent a more serious accident in the future. A young person might have failed the college admission test he had pinned his hopes for a future on. He should, however, know that there is goodness in his failure. 2. He should be able to think that God might have willed him to avoid some adverse circumstances or people and thereby feel pleased with the result. Alternatively, thinking that God has placed in every event many other blessings which are either obvious or are way beyond the imagination, believers see the beauty of full submission to the guidance of God. A person may not always see the goodness and divine purpose behind every incident. Even if this is the case, he knows for certain that there is goodness in all events. He offers prayers for God to show him the goodness and divine purpose hidden behind everything that happens. Those who are aware that everything has a purpose in God's creation never use phrases, "I wish I had not done this," or, "I wish I had not said that," and so on. Mistakes, defects, or seemingly unfortunate events essentially include blessings, and each one of them are the trials of destiny. God gives important lessons and reminders to man in the destiny He creates individually for each person. For those who can evaluate with insight, there are no mistakes or adversities, but lessons, warnings, and wisdom from God. For example, a Muslim whose shop burns down will search his soul, and becomes even more sincere and true in his faith, deeming it as a warning by God against overindulgence in worldly goods and attachments. Consequently, no matter what one encounters in this life, the ordeals will all eventually end. A person who recalls a hardship will be amazed that it is nothing more than a reminiscence in the mind. This is also how people recall the scenes from a film. Accordingly, one day will come and the most painful experience will become only a memory, more like the image of a scene from a movie. Only one thing will remain: the attitude a person assumed during the time of hardship and whether God is pleased with him or not. A person will not be called to account for the experiences, but for his attitudes, thoughts, and sincerity he displayed at the time of these experiences. Therefore, being in an endeavor to see the goodness and the divine purpose God creates in the situations one encounters, and a positive attitude will bring bliss to believers both in this world and in the hereafter. No sorrow or fear awaits these believers who are aware of this secret. Similarly, no event can create fear, harm or distress in this world and in the hereafter. God reveals this secret in the Qur'an as follows. We said, "Go down from it, every one of you. Then when guidance comes to you from me, those who follow my guidance will feel no fear and will know no sorrow." Surat al-Baqarah 38. Yes, the friends of God will feel no fear and will know no sorrow. Those who believe and have done their duty, there is good news for them in the life of the world and in the hereafter. There is no changing the words of God. That is the great victory. Surah Yunus 62-64. There is surely ease with every difficulty. God has created the world to test mankind. As an inherent feature of this examination, He tests man sometimes with blessings and at other times with hardships. People who do not evaluate events in the light of the Quran, fail to give the appropriate interpretation to events, and become downhearted and fall into hopelessness. However, God reveals an important secret in the Quran, which only true and submissive believers can perceive. This secret is revealed as follows. For truly with hardship comes ease, truly with hardship comes ease. Surat al-Inshirah 5-6. As God informs us in these verses, no matter what sort of adversity a person experiences or how a situation is overcome, God creates a path that will lead to a way out and gives relief to believers. Indeed, a believer will witness that God grants ease along with all hardships if he remains steadfast in his patience. In other verses, God has given the good news of guidance and blessings to his servants who have fear for him. Whoever has fear of God, he will give him a way out and provide for him from where he does not expect. Whoever puts his trust in God, he will be enough for him. Surat at-Talaq 2-3. God does not place a burden greater than one can bear. God, the merciful, compassionate and just, creates ease in everything and tests people within the limits of their strength. Forms of prayers God commands man to perform, difficulties he creates to test him, responsibilities that he charges man with are all in proportion to his individual capabilities. This is a good news and comfort to believers, and a manifestation of God's mercy and grace. God relates this secret in verses as follows, and that you do not go near the property of orphans before they reach maturity, except in a good way, that you give full measure and full weight with justice, we impose on no one any more than they can bear, that you are equitable when you speak, even if a near relative is concerned, and that you fulfill God's covenant. That is what He instructs you to do, so that hopefully you will pay heed. Surat al-An'am 152. As for those who believe and do righteous deeds, we impose on no one any more than they can bear, they are the companions of the garden, remaining in it forever. Surat al-Araf 42. We do not impose on anyone any more than they can stand. With us there is a book, which speaks the truth. They will not be wronged. Surat al-Mu'minun 62. It is easy to live by God's religion. A great majority of people think that religion will make their lives difficult and impose on them hard obligations. This is a delusion that Satan whispers to man to lead him astray. As mentioned earlier, religion is easy. God states that He wills ease for believing people after difficulties. Besides this, the fundamentals of religion such as putting trust in God and having an understanding of fate, removes all burdens, difficulties and causes of distress or sorrow. For a person who lives by God's religion, there is no distress, sorrow or despair. In many verses, God promises to support those who submit themselves to Him and who help His religion, and to give them a good life both in this world and in the hereafter. Our Lord, who never breaks His word, states as follows, when those who have fear of God are asked, "What has your Lord sent down?" their reply is, "Good." There is good in the world for those who do good, and the abode of the hereafter is even better. How wonderful is the abode of those who have fear of God. Surat an-Nahl 30. God gives the good news to believers that he will render those who comply with his religion successful. As for him who gives, in charity, and has fear of God and confirms the good, we will pave his way to ease. Surat al-Lail 5-7. As these secrets reveal, one who sincerely turns towards God's religion has chosen right from the beginning, a path of ease that will bring success and benefit both in this world and in the hereafter. To disbelievers, on the other hand, just the opposite applies. Disbelievers already have a life filled with sorrow, sadness and loss both in this world and in the hereafter. At the moment they decided on disbelief, they lose both the world and the hereafter. This is related in verses as follows: But as for him who is stingy and thinks he is self-sufficient, and denies the good, we will pave his way to difficulty. Surat al-Lail 8-10. God is the possessor and creator of everything. It is surely above and over any power or support for a person to earn God's friendship, aid and support. The one who takes God as his friend and submits fully to him will live, both in the world and in the hereafter, in bounty and blessings, and no hurt will come to him from any source. This is an immutable fact. Since this is the case, every man of wisdom and conscience should comprehend these secrets revealed in the Qur'an and choose the wise and correct path. That disbelievers cannot understand these clear facts is another secret by itself. No matter how intelligent or well-educated they are, they do not use their reason, so they are unable to understand and see these facts. God obscures the comprehension of disbelievers. That some people cannot understand the Quran is one of the most important secrets revealed in the Quran. This is indeed an important secret, because the Quran is a very clear, easy and straightforward book. Anyone who wishes can read the Quran and learn about God's commands, the good morals that he is pleased with, the attributes of paradise and hell, and about many secrets, some of which are presented in this book. However, as an immutable law of God, some people cannot understand the Quran despite all its clarity. Furthermore, these people can be atomic engineers or professors of biology, can understand very complicated branches of science such as physics, chemistry or mathematics, can grasp Buddhism, Hinduism, Shintoism, materialism or communism, and yet fail to understand the Quran. These people who adopt the complicated structures of non-Quranic systems somehow cannot grasp God's clear and easy religion, and fail to understand even the most evident subjects therein. Their being unable to grasp even the most evident facts is a miracle in itself. By showing that they have such a serious deficiency in understanding, God explains that some people possess a different nature. On the other hand, this provides evidence to the fact that all hearts, reason and comprehension is in God's hands. God declares that he will cover the hearts and comprehension of those who are seized by feelings of grandeur, that is, who do not submit to God. The fact that they understand anything but the Quran reveals that God has diverted them from his signs, and they are debarred from the Quran because of their insincerity. Some of the verses pertaining to this are: When you recite the Quran, we place an obscuring veil between you and those who do not believe in the hereafter. We have placed covers on their hearts, preventing them from understanding it, and heaviness in their ears. When you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, they turn their backs and run away. Surat al-Isra 45-46. Some of them listen to you, but we have placed covers on their hearts, preventing them from understanding it, and heaviness in their ears. Though they see every sign, they still have no faith, so that when they come to you, disputing with you, those who are disbelievers say, "This is nothing but the myths of previous peoples." Surat al-An'am 25. Who could do greater wrong than someone who is reminded of the signs of his Lord and then turns away from them, forgetting all that he has done before? We have placed covers on their hearts, preventing them from understanding it, and heaviness in their ears. Though you call them to guidance, they will nonetheless never be guided. Surat al-Kahf 57. As revealed in the verses, The secret why disbelievers cannot understand the Quran is that God has placed a barrier to their comprehension and set a seal upon their hearts because of their denial. This is a great miracle displaying the grandeur of God and that He is the possessor of hearts and thoughts of every man. God bestows understanding on those who fear Him. Another secret revealed in the Quran is that God gives those who fear Him the ability to judge and discriminate between right and wrong. It is referred to as wisdom. God relates this secret in Surat Al-Anfal as follows: You who believe, if you have fear of God, He will give you a criterion by which to judge between right and wrong, and erase your bad actions from you and forgive you. God's favor is indeed immense. Surat Al-Anfal 29. As explained in the previous chapter, God obscures the wisdom and comprehension of disbelievers. These people, no matter how intelligent they may be, cannot grasp even the most obvious concepts pertaining to religion. Wisdom is an attribute peculiar to believers. The majority of people take it for granted that intelligence and wisdom mean very much the same thing. However, intelligence is the mental capacity that everyone possesses. For example, being an atomic scientist or a mathematical genius indicates intelligence. Wisdom, on the other hand, is the consequence of the fear a person has for God and the adherence to the conscience, and is by no means related to intelligence. A person may be very intelligent, yet he remains unwise if he has no fear of God. Therefore, wisdom is a blessing God bestows on believers. Those deprived of such understanding is not even aware of their situation. For instance, those who assume they are the source of power and possessions, become arrogant. This is simply an indication of lack of wisdom. Because if there is wisdom, there is the realization that nothing is as powerful as the will of God. This awareness would ultimately lead one to conduct oneself with humility. This person, however, does not think that, if God wills, all his property can be reduced to insignificance in a few seconds, or that he can face death, leaving everything behind in the world and stand by the fire to receive reckoning. All these are more certain and real than what one possesses in this world. Only believers, who fear God, have this understanding, and do not drift toward the deceitful nature of the life of this world. They spend their lives knowing the real essence of things. God bestows understanding on the believers through their faith. As they feel closer to God, their comprehension deepens and they become more cognizant of the secrets in God's creation. There is good in every event. God informs us that He creates every event with goodness.